Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flick Show. My name is Chris Wong. I really want to just talk about this podcast that Revenge of the Fans put out, and the editor-in-chief, his name is Mario Francisco Robles. I think that's how you say his last name, Robles. And he does a podcast on Fanboy Podcast. It's got it on, I think, what is that thing called? It's got it on Podbean, and that's an app you can actually listen to, and I listened to it, and it's a fabulous podcast. Actually, I quite enjoyed it. It's about an hour long, and if you are into the DC universe and want to learn a little bit about that, I suggest you check it out, listen it out. It's fantastic, and I've been following Revenge of the Fans as soon as we started Revenge of the Fans, before even knowing about his Fanboy thing, and I liked to hear what he had to say, and actually kind of trust in what he had to say because of all the stuff that happened in Justice League, and how he kind of knew that was going to happen, even though I myself rejected that idea. I wanted to believe in Warner Brothers, but he knew better. He had sources in Warner Brothers knowing what actually has transpired. So he did this after that whole John Campea thing about dropping vague hints of impending bad news coming, but I'm not going to tell you, on his YouTube open mic show. And he's just, it was a weird fiasco, and then all of a sudden Matt Reeves leaving the Batman got in the way, and they kind of connected that together, or John Campea did, so he kind of brought it onto himself. The Wrap reported about it, and it's whoa. He was, John, you're in the hot seat now, Junebug. So, and after that, it just put more negativity into DCU. So Mario Francisco Robles, he actually put it on himself. He went out and checked it out himself. He got to his sources to figure out what's going on with this, and it's all in his podcast, so I suggest you listen. But it pretty much came down to Matt Reeves not leaving the Batman, and we already know that because Matt Reeves came out and says no, he's not, in a way, he's not leaving the Batman at all. So he's still working on the script, he's still working on a story. But I think what they suggest was Fanboy here, Mario has suggested that Matt Reeves was taking a while to make the script, so it's kind of like how Ben Affleck was trying to make the script, and the Warner Brothers was trying to hurry him up because they want to get the Batman out there. And we all know from what we've heard before that Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and all these core Justice League member characters are top priority for Warner Brothers. They want to get those guys out first, their own solo films, before even heading up the spin-offs for each of those characters' rosters. So then that makes total sense. So that's probably why Nightwing is on the back burner, Batgirl's on the back burner. They can't officially do those things, or even Gotham City Sirens maybe, or Suicide Squad 2 maybe, I don't know, but if Batman's involved. But they can't do any of that until Batman comes out, to see what Matt Reeves does with Batman. And so he suggested Walter Hamada and this new crew is actually very more forgiving, more patient, but they still want to know what's going on with Matt Reeves' Batman. And maybe with all that rumor mongering and in between the lines, how the story is transferred, it could have turned into, oh my God, he's leaving the Batman, but he's not, and John Campea just picked up on that. Maybe, or maybe John Campea has something altogether, something else. But I liked what he talked about Warner Brothers and DC, and it's something we've always known about, where Marvel is more like a TV show. And he says just choose any of your TV shows and see that each episode is directed by someone else, but you don't really realize that because when you're watching it, it looks exactly the same. The whole season looks exactly the same. The finale, which is Avengers Infinity War, that's coming out, right? So it's very much so like that, and I've already already known that. A lot of people already kind of knew about how Kevin Feige is more of a showrunner, and that's why Marvel movies look pretty much the same, and that's why people are so invested, general audience so invested, because they love their TV shows. So he's running the movies like a TV show, a TV series, and they keep going and going and going. And then he brings up how maybe X-Men universe or the X-Men cinematic universe is different as well. It's more director driven, and so there's no continuity sake in there. Nothing actually is pulling it together. He says maybe Simon Kinberg might be the new shepherd in that way. And that's the other route. So Warner Brothers DC now, under Walter Hamada, are really adamant on they're gonna do filmmaker driven stories, even though we've seen them kind of try to do the Kevin Feige Marvel thing with Justice League by having Jeff Johns do all this stuff, but now he's more of a consultant role, advisory role. Now we won't know this for sure yet until we actually see the next few movies and see if there's any kind of overarching kind of tone, same tone and stuff. But I like to say that the way they've been doing it, Mario asked the question, which do you prefer? I prefer filmmaker driven. I think DC is in a way, because there's so many things going on in the DC universe with multiverse, there's Elseworlds, that I am actually okay for each director to do their own thing. Let's look at the Justice League. The DC animated movies. Each movie doesn't actually connect to each other. They just told stories, utilizing the same characters. Maybe they'll use the same voice actors again. They sometimes use Kevin Conrad again over and over. They use Mark Hamill as Joker over and over, or they use someone else's voice as Joker. So I'm okay with that, actually. I'm actually quite fond of them being able to do that. It provides a little bit more flexibility in the DCU, and like having Zack Snyder's version, he built that. He built the DCEU, and I would have loved to see him actually complete his complete vision, because that's his portion, right? That's like having X-Men First Class, even though First Class was directed by somebody else. X-Men First Class, Bryan Singer's Days of Future Past, and the Apocalypse. So it's like a trilogy type thing. And Zack Snyder's thing could be a trilogy type thing, and then they could move on to a different director doing another Justice League. They could utilize the same characters or not, but have a totally different tone and tell a different story without having to worry about what the hell just happened before that. Could it be confusing to the audience? Maybe, or maybe not. Maybe you just change up a little bit of the costumes, change up the characters. It's part of the DC extended universe, and they could even go into like, there's multiple universes. Even though they do that in the TV shows with the Flash and Supergirl, they were able to have people realize that is a possibility. They could do that in a movie verse, maybe in a Flashpoint or Flash universe, to show that there are different universes, and that's why we can tell different stories. Kind of like how Cloverfield's doing. There's different timelines. Cloverfield Paradox, even though it wasn't as good as the other movies that came out in theaters, it told you that it informed you that there were different universes. And so with that, they were able to say the movies from now on may not totally connect to each other, but this is why it is. They could totally do that with the DCU, just like how they did with the Flash, and Supergirl and all those other Green Arrow, the TV show stuff. Not that I wanted to copy. I'm just saying that in terms of having the audience grasp the knowledge that there are possible ways to tell the DCEU without having actually connect to each other, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We don't have to copy them. We have to do our own thing, like Zack Snyder. So we have to do our own thing. And if Zack Snyder had done the whole thing, it would have been intense and it would be crazy. I think there will be a more finite way he had done it. He wasn't looking in the overarching picture. He really wanted to start with Man of Steel. Then he wanted to do Man of Steel 2. Then Batman came in, and I think Warner Brothers execs were like, throw it in there, we want to catch up. So he kind of had to work with what he got, and then he was able to kind of grasp the knowledge of the whole thing, but a more finite story instead of going off into infinite directions. That was Warner Brothers, who want to get that shared universe. But if they do the Elseworlds thing, the multiverse, I think they have more flexibility with the directors make their own thing without having to do other, being a shared universe, and having, people like Rick Famuyiwa who would say, I don't want that to happen. I don't want that person to happen. I don't want this to happen. I want to make the movie I want to make. If Flash dies in it, not saying, but if they wanted someone to die at the end, then another Flash from another different part of another story of another different universe could show up in the next movie, and it'd be, okay. Kind of like how Logan is not really the ending of all the X-Men. It was kind of like a parallel universe in another alternate reality kind of way, if you really want to think about it that way, so it doesn't really connect to each other. And I think that'd be fine. That'd be totally fine. I think they could work it out that way. So, and also about the people who made this. I mean, people who were saying, DC's dead, DC's done. Mario says that this is just the beginning stages, right? He kind of informed that, and he kind of implied that this is the beginning stages, right? And I gotta believe that. I believe that as well. Remember, Jon Favreau kind of started the Iron Man, even though he didn't want to blow up the universe, and he kind of walked away afterward. Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2, Jon Favreau kind of created the MCU before Kevin Feige took it over, right? So, and Bryan Singer created the X-Men universe before Simon Kimber kind of took it away, right? And now Zack Snyder created DCEU before all these other people started to take away. Who is that person that's taking away? I don't know. Is it Jeff Johns? I don't know. Consultant? No. Walter Hamada has anything to do with it? I don't know. But I think the direction, I don't want them to go through the Marvel. I don't actually want them to do that. There are people who want that to happen. They want it to go run right after the other and be more Marvel-like, and they have this whole thing going on. And they could have that too. They could bring forth the Justice League afterwards by teasing this, which I think they kind of are right now, what they're trying to do. But I believe if they have to, if they want to make it more filmmaker-driven, like Mario says, then you got to kind of sacrifice the other thing, right? You got to sacrifice having that showrunner try to tie everything together, because that's going to be kind of hard getting your directors to commit to your vision, because they got their own visions to work with. But if you do that multiverse, which is totally like DC canon here, where there's so many different stories, you pull a book, and I've said this before, you pull a book, World War, you pull another book, and they don't all connect. They even look different. Some of the costumes look different, and everything else. You pull a Jim Lee, it's different from another story. And sometimes they'll have that big one where it's like Infinite Crisis, Identity. They have those crisis features, but for the most part, all the stories are totally different, and they look totally different. And for readers, that's fine. For people who watch the DC CW show, that's fine. So why can't we do that with the movie universe? It doesn't have to connect. And I thought they were going to try to do that with the Joker, and I was completely fine with that. Scratching my head a little bit, but I'm like, I'm kind of fine with that, because it's an Elseworlds thing. It's a different type of Joker. Matt Reeves, the Batman, maybe Jake Gyllenhaal, I don't know. But it's totally different from Ben Affleck Batman. Ben Affleck Batman could show up a little later. I've been totally cool with that. We get so many different variety of DC stories that way, without having to figure out which movie came first. Am I gonna do this whole? Should I start with this movie first and this movie, or you don't have to go there. And for those directors who like their current vision and they're thinking, I want to make a 2, 3, 4 movies, that's fine. And do your 2, 3, 4 movies within your own little sandbox world, but in the DCEU. and then we could already caption this. Oh, this is the Zack Snyder DC multiverse. This is Zack Snyder World 1. World Zack Snyder. This is World Rick Famuyiwa. This is World James Wan. This is World Patty Jenkins. It could be so very interesting if they had done that, if they do that. But I think right now, in terms of what they're trying to do currently and what their looks like they're doing, is they're still going to try to mimic a Marvel, even though they say they're not, but they're still trying to mimic Marvel, yet call it director driven. We'll see. I mean, we'll see when the movies come out, see how much it is different from each other or similar to each other, and how much control these directors actually have, instead of always playing ball with Warner Brothers, playing ball with what Jeff Johns wants. From one of those, like, Jeff Johns has been going to each set. So what does he do there? I don't know. I'm thinking he is trying to say, very, very much his own ideas into it, because he has done New 52. He's doing Rebirth, and so he's got his own. He's putting his own influence in it, like some of my friends have said. So it's more of a Jeff Johns universe. They really think Jeff Johns is the Kevin Feige. We'll see. We'll see what happens now, because Jeff Johns really came in at the tail end of Justice League. He was not part of Man of Steel, was not part of Batman v Superman. He was somewhat part of Wonder Woman, and now he's going to be part of Shazam. He is there. He was there with David Sandberg, doing all the drawings and stuff. He is gonna be there for. I don't know if he was there for Aquaman. I gotta look that up. But he's gonna be there for Wonder Woman 2, and then so on and so forth. So I don't know, but that was the state of the DCU that Mario goes into explaining a lot more different things in it, and he gives his own take about where direction you should go. And towards the end, it is kind of sad. He kind of broke down, and I started to tear up as well when he did. But he really cares about his characters, and I do so too. And a lot of you all care about these characters. We don't want them to fail. We don't want them to be hated on. And he really, just like, even me, like John Campea, I mean, come on, like, you call yourself a DCU fan, but you throw out something hugely negative and you don't want to tell us what it is, and you just want to, you create this negative cloud that we all as DC fans try to avoid. We're already in there, we're in there every single day, and you just made the cloud bigger, and it's just, it's so pointless. And if you had something, keep it to yourself. But I know your ego is so high from all the things you said. Even like, you're still hating on Wonder Woman, thinking Wonder Woman is not a Gal Gadot is a terrible actress, and we should get a real actress for a reboot. I mean, you're still going there. It's very obviously you got some kind of ego thing that you need to think about hard about yourself. But in any case, I agree with Mario. That was uncalled for to have such an unnecessary negative cloud over the DCEU. I don't know if it's for clicks or what, but it's just totally unnecessary. So anyway, I encourage you to listen to Mario Francisco Robles. This is from revengeofthefans.com. It's his one called El Fanboy, State of the DC Union, Reeves, Batman, Campea Crap, and the Way Forward. It's very enlightening. It's very heartfelt towards the end, and I just realized he's just a passionate fan like me, like you, like the rest of us who are still have faith in the DC Extended Universe. All right, guys. Well, that is it for today. I want you to all have a wonderful weekend. Aloha Friday. And tomorrow is going to be usually my Saturday editorial, which has nothing to do with news. But I want to really talk about Star Wars. So it's going to be a long one, and I'm just going to go crazy and talk about Star Wars, what's going on in the movie universe, what crazy thing happened in Rebels, and I just want to talk about that. So tune in tomorrow if you even care about Star Wars, and I'll see you then. All right, guys, have a great weekend. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.